I'm Brian Goldfinger from Goldfinger Injury Lawyers. We'd like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. Don't drink and drive, don't token drive, and wait till you get to your destination to reply to that text. Visit goldfingerlaw.com.
Hello and welcome to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, William Loom, speaking to you after the Toronto Raptors defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers by a score of 106-95 on Saturday night. It was not the best way to spend a Saturday night. I'm not going to lie, this game was hella boring and basically spent most of the game, doing dishes, making some dinner. You know how it goes. I mean, some of these games are quite boring and this was definitely one of them. No Kyle Lowry tonight. He got rested. I think they called it a sore back, which makes sense. I think he has some lingering, not issues, but, you get to 33, 34, you might have some back soreness or whatever. So, smart move by the Raptors to rest Kyle. He's been playing every single game. He's sort of carried the Raptors on a lot of nights, especially when Kawhi has sat out, and he's sat out about 6 games thus far. So it was Kawhi's turn to carry Kyle, and that's what he did. Kawhi stepped up tonight, 34 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, plus 28 in 37 minutes. That's exactly what you want to see out of your star players. He obviously plays very differently from Kyle. Kyle obviously gets everyone involved, and it's sort of more of a team effort, whereas Kawhi is more of a finisher. So he's going to score by himself, and that's what he did tonight. He was, came up with a bucket anytime the Raptors needed one. None of the Cavaliers could really do much against him. He was just sort of physically dominant for those guys. It was just a great game from Kawhi. He got to the free throw line a lot, which is nice. He hasn't really gotten a lot of calls this year, but tonight especially, he got a whole series of and ones, at least 3, I think. Also hit some pull-up jumpers, came up with a clutch steal when Cedi Osman tried to do a low crossover against Kawhi, which I don't know why you would think that's a good idea, considering Kawhi can basically touch the floor in a defensive stance. So I don't know why you would do that. And it's sort of the same mistake KD made. KD in overtime on Thursday tried to basically, just cross over like a usual move, sort of instinctive. Before you make your move, you do a little crossover, see where the defender moves, and then you make your attack. And Kawhi just says, I'll just steal that ball. And got the steal. It was a bit of a close game at the end. And the only reason for that really is because the bench can't hold leads for shit. It is hard to watch this bench play. I mean, OG Anunoby minus 15, DeLon Wright minus 17, CJ Miles only minus 4, but seriously, 2 points and 1 of 4 shooting wasn't great. JV minus 9 in 18 minutes. I mean, it was hard to watch, and part of that is because Fred VanVleet was playing with the starting unit because of, again, Kyle was out. But also, the main issue is nobody knows how to run a goddamn pick and roll. What is wrong with everyone else on the Raptors, man? Kyle Lowry, maestro of the pick and roll, leads the NBA in assists, primarily by running the pick and roll. He gets more than 6 assists per game, if you look at the tracking data, to Ibaka, JV, and Siakam. Those guys are, either finishing in transition or pick and roll. But, feeding your bigs, coming off the screen, feeding your big, letting him score, Kyle Lowry is great at that. It's the best part of his game right now. However, when you look at Fred has no idea how to pass to JV. It's kind of sad. It was the same thing that happened in the Warriors. It's happened a lot this season, really. Like, basically, the bench has one central action, which is to run pick and roll with JV, except it goes nowhere every time. Fred eventually did find JV a couple times in the Warriors game, maybe 2 or 3, but ultimately that was not a good performance by the Raptors bench in the Warriors game, just like tonight was not a good performance of the Raptors bench. And especially, it was disappointing to see the fact that the Raptors, at the end of every quarter, they would get out to a lead, and then all of us, except for the first quarter, but the second quarter and third quarter especially, they would play great defense, they would get this big lead, and then they would hand over to the bench, and then they would just, it doesn't even wet themselves. It just can't run any effective offense, and it's really killing them defensively as well. And most of it just comes from the fact that nobody knows how to run pick and roll on this team except Kyle. It's kind of sad. Kawhi can do it a little bit. I mean, he likes to go and attack 2 defenders, draw them, and then kick out. So it's not really the same. He's better pick and popping with a guy. But, Kawhi can operate a little bit. But, man, Fred was so bad in the pick and roll. DeLon was so bad in the pick and roll. They had to have guys like OG and Anunoby and Danny Green running pick and roll, which is not what you want. You don't want these guys to be running pick and roll. These guys are primarily, catch and shoot guys. But when everyone else can't do it, you got to go, look for alternative methods. And I think, honestly, OG actually had 2 nice passes to JV for rolls. But I don't know if it's a case of they're not comfortable with the way JV plays. Because or if it's not comfortable with Ibaka as well, although I think it's less of an issue with Ibaka than it is with JV. But I think it's weird because, like, last year, with Jakob Poeltl, he was setting so many high-energy screens. And, like, it's not like Poeltl has more skills offensively than JV does. It's just they just had a better timing last year with Poeltl in running the pick and rolls, whereas this year, like, they just have none of it. And it's not JV's fault, really. Like, I think most of the time he's doing the right thing. He's in the right positions, but maybe because the plays are slower or something like that, because he's not as quick as Poeltl is and not nearly as nimble, then, like, there's just no paint. There's no lane to drive. And Fred just ends up dribbling like a ton. Like, Fred has dribbled a ton this season. The same thing with DeLon. DeLon just doesn't get a shot off anytime. He's doing, like, his one shot of the game was like a spinning reverse layup, which, like, okay, cool, you made that shot, but it's just a terrible shot. So that's a bit of a concern. But look, the Raptors, they got the win. Why? Because the Cavaliers are trash. They only hit 5 of 22 from deep. Now, the Raptors didn't do much better with 7 of 26, but still, 5 of 22. They didn't have a single three-pointer in the first half. They were 0 for 10 in the first half. Finally, actually, I guess, 5 of 12 in the second half is not bad. For a team like the Cavs, not bad. But they just couldn't get it going. And then, like, when you look at this team, like, who's going to score? Tristan Thompson was great. 18 points, 19 rebounds in 40 minutes. He's not a good shooter, so he only shot 6 of 15. But someone's got to force their offense on this team because, like, if it's not him, it's Colin Sexton pounding the air out of the ball, just, does not really know how to run an offense. Rodney Hood coming across a couple curls. I mean, well, you can only do so much with that. And then it's like Jordan Clarkson gets hot. I mean, like, I don't know how this team doesn't lose every single night. I guess they basically do because they're 4-18. But, the Cavs just didn't really have, enough juice to get over the hump. But, like I said, this is not a very entertaining game. I'm just happy the Raptors got the win, obviously. You're thrilled. You can't take any of these for granted, all right? You can't watch all the Raptors basically from just the entire history of the franchise and then take any win for granted. No, we're not going to be spoiled. But, yeah, this is not a fun game to watch. Not a fun game to watch. In terms of your 3 stars, Kawhi obviously number 1, 34 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 11 of 21 shooting, 3 threes, 9 of 9 from the free throw line, 37 minutes plus 28. Pretty easy choice there. Second star, I'm going to give that to Danny Green. 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 of 5 shooting from 3, including a big one at the end. 2 blocks as well, plus 24, 32 minutes. One thing I like about Green, just as a side note, is that the Raptors have sort of consistently had him sort of creep along the baseline to get a couple of offensive rebounds, and he got 2 putbacks tonight. That's just Danny. He's real solid, and plus no one expects him coming, You're just 3-and-D guys listed in the corner, and then, shot goes up, everyone sort of, they kind of fall asleep. You don't really think the guy from the corner is really going to crash, but Danny really got in today for 2 putbacks. That was nice to see. He's been sort of consistently trying for that, and it's something, I guess. I don't know. And yeah, Danny Green's defense is quite solid. And then in terms of your 3rd star, I'll go with Pascal. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 of 11 shooting. Didn't hit the threes today. He was 0 for 2. And honestly, 6 of 11 for Pascal these days is kind of inefficient. But still has 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, plus 14 in 33 minutes. His plus minus is not as high as the rest of the guys because he ended up playing a lot with the bench to sort of carry that unit, which just, did not work except for when Kawhi was hitting every jumper. But, I mean, Pascal, I like his confidence, there's one possession where Serge just got deep post position. He just tells Serge, get out the way. I got this. And Serge is like, oh, okay, all right. And then Pascal, stares down Rodney Hood, and the Cavaliers put a shooting guard and Rodney Hood on him just to sort of match him with his quickness. Pascal still got whatever he wanted in that play when he waved off Serge. He attacks Hood, then goes for a spinning hook shot, and then gets an and one. Doesn't hit the free throw, actually, but still, really impressive play. And Pascal's just been impressive, every single game. I mean, the fact that 6 of 11 is a little bit inefficient for him is just nuts this season, considering how much of the offense he's creating by himself. One thing to note with Pascal is that, him and VanVleet really do pair well together. VanVleet's able to play more off the ball, and Pascal's a much better passer than almost anybody in the bench unit, basically. And Pascal found VanVleet for a cutting layup. He found VanVleet for a 3 at the end of the game. It's just nice because VanVleet is better when he plays off the ball. Like, he's almost better as an off guard, even though the Raptors are kind of primarily using him as a point guard, like pretending he's just a CP3 of the bench when really he's just like CP3 this season, actually. CP3 is, he's injured, but yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointing year for CP. But it's a nice way to pair them up. Plus, like, those two guys have played together forever, right? Like, obviously, they were third stringers when they first came into the league together. And then VanVleet was with Siakam in the G League. And then they've been playing in the summertime together. And then last year in the bench mob. And then another summer together. And now they're separated. And, Pascal has been great. But, his boy has sort of been left behind. VanVleet has not had nearly as good of a season. So it's nice when they get to play together, though. Because they really do have a great chemistry. Really intuitive understanding of where the other person's going to be. In terms of guys who have chemistry on the team, Kyle has chemistry with everybody. Fred's supposed to have chemistry with everybody, but he's not really there. Has no chemistry with JV. Very little chemistry with CJ. DeLon and him never really had chemistry. They just split the floor. And it's really just VanVleet has chemistry with Siakam. And, By the way, DeLon had great chemistry with Pirtle last year. Maybe that was part of the issue, too. Because, this year, DeLon has just not been there at all. Like, he's just a non-factor a lot of nights, which is kind of depressing. But I don't know, man. Professional win by the Raptors, for sure. There was a lot of singing, a lot of gift giving on the broadcast, by Jack and Matt, which is great. I mean, if for these boring ass games in December, you want to have the fun crew on, and Jack is definitely more fun for calling these games. But easy win. And then in terms of your Gerald Henderson award, obviously that goes to Tristan Thompson. As I mentioned earlier, 18 points, 19 rebounds, 3 assists in 40 minutes. Tristan would make a nice addition for a team, looking for a veteran big man who, basically will play as a backup, can play as a starter. It doesn't really matter. His contract is a hindrance for most teams, and honestly, most contenders don't really need a backup big, but the way Tristan plays, he is obviously a menace on the defensive glass and offensive glass, but also he's just like a really good defender. Like a couple times he switched on to Kawhi. Kawhi couldn't really get a good shot off. I think one time Kawhi actually shot an air ball against Tristan. So we know Tristan can guard on switches. We've seen him in the finals do that against Steph. And I think the other thing with Tristan that's really nice is that he's had a lot of success against Boston and against Cleveland. Against Boston and Golden State. Obviously part of that is him playing off the ball with LeBron, and he's kind of a joke. I know Tristan's kind of a joke because of the Kardashian stuff, but he's an effective player. He's a very good role player, and he's always given Horford trouble. And if you're going to play Golden State, you need a guy who can rebound, as the Raptors saw on Thursday. They gave up 17 offensive rebounds. And you'll need a guy who can guard on switches, and Tristan can do that. And he's a veteran guy. He doesn't really look for shots, Obviously, he doesn't have the greatest touch on his shot, but it's pretty good timing in terms of how to space the floor on pick and rolls. He's a pretty intuitive player. I don't know. He makes 17 this year. He makes 18 next year. It's not the easiest contract to trade for, but the Raptors sort of have that capability if they want to go that route. And quite honestly, I don't really see the Cavaliers as, that desperate to hold on to him. It seems like they will take on, they'll take on some contracts. They'll take on some young guys, just anybody really. Because when you look at this team, there's got no talent whatsoever. Kevin Love sitting on the bench in a very suave turtleneck. That's the only reason to watch the Cavs this year, man. It's very depressing. The arena was just so quiet too. It was just so quiet. And Alec Burks was randomly there. I don't know, man. But Tristan is there up for grabs, and some team could use a player like Tristan. The Bucks could use a player like Tristan, for example. The Bucks could really use a mobile center who can guard and rebound. And So anyway, that's it for the podcast. read 10 things. I don't know what else to say, really. Read everything on Raptors Public. And thank you to everyone who has supported the Patreon, by the way. I really need to do something for that. I really, really am trying to. But I've because of the new job and everything, I just have so little time. But I'm going to make a commitment and make an effort to do something about that on that Patreon site of mine, which is still active, even though, it is what it is. But, I'll see you guys Monday when the Raptors take on the Nuggets.